everybody. Welcome to another new interview that I will be conducting. Today, I have a privilege to sit down with someone whom I have met not too long ago. He listened to one of the podcasts that I was on. He reached out to me and we started to connect, and then I started to get to know him a little bit more and very interested in all the stories that he shared with me. I think that they're really fascinating. So I will introduce you to him. So his name is Rick Balterson. So Rick Balterson and his wife Jan are the founders of Women Are Gold, a human trafficking prevention organization that protects and empowers young women and girls in Cambodia. Rick first joined the fight against human trafficking as an outreach volunteer for End Slavery Cincinnati in 2015. From there, he went on to work for Destiny Rescue, an international human trafficking organization, serving for 2 years as the country manager in Cambodia, and then as the director of corporate and foundation partnerships in the U.S. Prior to that, Rick had a corporate career, serving as a business development executive for companies in the publishing, technology, and financial services industries. Now, let's move on to the interview. Hello, Rick.
Hello.
Welcome to the interview.
Thank you.
I am grateful for your time, that you are willing to sit down with me and do this interview. And I think that your stories are worth sharing with other people. That's why I wanted to record this interview, and so that people can listen to this interview and learn more about who you are and why you ended up in Cambodia. So why don't you introduce yourself, who you are, and then we will start from there.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your interest and appreciate the opportunity just to share a little bit today. So, as Thierry said, my name is Rick Balterson, and my wife Jen and I run an organization called Women Are Gold. We work to protect and empower young women and prevent them from being trafficked. And basically, we do two things. We keep girls in school, and we also provide a variety of training programs to just protect and empower the community. Everything from safe work migration to managing your personal finances to internet safety and child protection. So we really enjoy living and working in Cambodia, and just grateful to share with you a little bit today.
Yeah, so can you tell me, how did you start Women Are Gold, your foundation, and what was the story behind it?
We've been working in Cambodia on and off for the last, I would say, 8 years or so. And years ago, the issue of human trafficking just became more known to us. We just thought it was something that was such a great injustice, obviously, something we really felt the need to get involved and do something about. So we ended up working locally, and there were some organizations in my hometown of Cincinnati that we served with as volunteers, but we always felt the call to do things internationally. I'm a former Peace Corps volunteer, so I lived in Sierra Leone, West Africa for a year right out of college. My wife Jen and I actually met on an international mission trip. So we just knew that doing something international was kind of in the cards for us. Jen signed up for a team trip with another organization called Destiny Rescue, and went over and spent 2 weeks in Thailand and Cambodia, and was just profoundly affected by what she saw. And we really felt like, wow, this was a great experience, and really considered what we should do with that. She spent a year convincing me to go on a team trip with her. Wasn't that I was reluctant to go, but I had a feeling this was going to be the trip that changed everything. And when I did go with her and we went overseas and I saw firsthand what she saw, we really knew that this was kind of a life-changing moment for us. So we came over and served for 2 years with this organization in Cambodia. It's an organization that is very active today. They do good work, and they basically do rescue. So if there's girls in in KTVs or girls who are being trafficked. They will help get the girls out of that situation into like an aftercare program. So we did that for about 2 years, and then I worked for them for another 1.5 years. But you know, we always felt the love for Cambodia and wanted to return. And we also just, after seeing kind of the trauma that the girls had gone through, we kind of came to the conclusion that it would really be ideal if we could prevent them from being in that situation in the first place. So we started shifting our mindset from rescue to prevention, and really that was the basis of Women Are Gold. And we spent a little bit of time kind of planning and dreaming about the organization, but we did come back here in 2021 and started to set it up. It took us a while to get started. Those were the COVID years, so that slowed everybody down. But after we got established and started hiring our local staff here, it really started to take off. And so we today work with about 40 young women, providing them with monthly support just to help them stay in school. And it's just, we just love seeing them thrive and grow and doing well. They're staying in school, they're becoming more confident, they're becoming more resilient, they're focused on their future. And it just makes us smile every day just to see them, because we know that they have a great future planned for them, and it's one where they can thrive, not just survive, and basically chart their own course and step into their purpose.
Can I just kind of go back a little bit?
Yes.
When you first volunteered with, what was the name of the organization again?
I was Destiny Rescue.
Yeah, so you first volunteered with the Destiny Rescue with your wife.
Yes.
How long ago was this trip?
That was in, we were here in 2017 and 2018. So for 2 years, and we lived in Kampong Cham. So this was always kind of
For the whole time? For the 2 years?
Yeah.
Oh.
This was kind of our hometown.
Oh, wow.
And we grew to love it here. We enjoyed many other parts of Cambodia, Phnom Penh, Siem Reap. Those were the other locations of the projects. But for us, just the kind of the calmer lifestyle in Kampong Cham, the beautiful scenery, which is kind of more our speed than living in a bigger city.
This was, you said, 2017?
That's right, 2017 and 2018,
Okay.
those 2 years.
So have you seen a lot of changes since then? Just the town itself?
Definitely, there are a lot of changes, you know, from our Western perspective. You know, we're always looking for those Western kind of things, but you know, we've seen some more restaurants come in. We've seen the city really grow and develop. You know, there's grocery stores here now that we love going to. We've seen the riverside develop, and it just seems like Kampong Cham is definitely growing. It seems like there's just a lot of activity here. It's, you know, as you know, it's really enjoyable to see on the riverside. There's just a lot of people out and about just enjoying the town.
Yeah. So when you first volunteered with Destiny Rescue, what made you volunteer into that work and decided to come to Cambodia to help with the work that they were doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that we just saw the impact that they were having on the lives of these young ladies they were working with. It just seemed, I guess looking back on my own life, I always felt I had opportunities and options to do things. You know, I would never claim that God speaks to me directly, but I did feel like a real nudging when we were visiting. It was actually a place in Thailand, and we were visiting a place there where there was a lot of girls who were, you know, trapped in that situation. And I remember just thinking, what can we do about this? How can we help? And I guess I just had a thought go through my head that just kind of asked me a question that was a little off the topic of what I was thinking, which was, Rick, how would you feel if people thought you were only good for one thing? And the question surprised me because my thought process wasn't going down that path. And I guess my answer was, well, I guess I wouldn't like that very much. And then the next thought I had was, you need to help rescue these girls. And that was it. And me being the business guy that I am was like, okay, well, what's the plan? What's the budget? What's the project outcome? How are we going to do all this stuff? But, that came later. But that kind of really led us to get more involved in the work. We were really impacted on our team trip that we went on together that I mentioned before by the lady who was the team trip leader. She did an excellent job. And she just really made the work, really showcased the work for us, really provided space for us to not only see it, but to reflect on it and to kind of talk within our team. So she really did a great job of kind of bringing that out. And so she had planned to leave her role. Her contract was up. And so then when it was time for us to think about coming over, I actually applied for that role and thought that would be a great role to do. I'd love to try to have the impact that she had. And so I remember in the interview with the HR personnel, they said to me, so you want to be the team trip leader? I was like, yeah, I think I could do that. And they said, okay, why? So I explained. And they said, well, we kind of have another idea for you, maybe another role. And I said, oh, what's that? And I said, we're thinking maybe you could be the new country manager. I was like, wait, what? I expected to kind of go in at this level. You want me to come in and run the whole thing? So I had to adjust to that. I had to kind of think that through. But after talking with the existing country manager, who was basically moving out and up in the organization, it seemed like a really good match. It was a very professionally run organization, so there's a lot of measurement of outcomes and reporting and staff management and staff growing and volunteer empowerment. And it's like, well, that's what I did in business. So it really seemed like everything aligned together. So it was a really exciting role, and I enjoyed being involved in all the aspects of it. And again, not just doing one thing, it was doing multiple things and just doing our best to reach the outcomes that we needed to reach.
But it's really interesting because prior to that, you were in the corporate world.
Right.
So I guess, switching from corporate to a nonprofit is a big jump. At least for me, that's how I feel like.
Right.
And also, to be honest, I feel like the pay very different.
Oh yeah.
Very different. So my question would be, what made you switch it from a corporate world to a nonprofit that you make less money?
Right.
And especially to come all the way to Cambodia,
Right. Excellent question, and that was the question that prevented me from doing that for many, many years. I know many people feel the pull to work in the nonprofit sector, or they want to get involved in international development, and they do that right out of college. You're doing that, for example, as a young person, so that's commendable. My path to that took decades. And it was always just rooted in kind of like a little bit of a fear of jumping all the way in. I guess my experience in the Peace Corps made me interested in that work and love that work. And then I worked at a job for many years, 15, 16 years, where just as part of my job, I had the opportunity to travel internationally. And so that kind of fed that need in me to do things internationally, and I guess that allowed me to put that on hold for a while because I was doing kind of what I was doing, but I was getting paid for it. But kind of the older I got, the more I just felt that pull to kind of do maybe what I felt I was just created to do or led to do. And more, it just seemed the corporate world and all of its pressures and all of the things that go along with it was just less and less appealing. And so I really struggled, or I guess agonized is the right word, for years, because as you said, you leave a job where you're getting paid well, and most of the opportunities, not all, but most of them are volunteer opportunities. You raise your own support. I just didn't compute in my mind. It goes against what our culture says. It's like you work hard, you make a bunch of money, you save it all, and then you retire and you enjoy life. But I kind of like in middle age, I was like, well, I think I want to do something different. And it was really with my wife Jen's encouragement. She doesn't sweat the finance stuff the way I do, and so we make a good team in that regard. And we realized, like, if we could do this together, could we make it work? And we had some money saved up, but not enough to live off of for 2 years. But what's interesting about that is once we said yes, and once we decided to take the plunge, that's when things really started to come about for us. To be honest, I was a little nervous to tell my boss at the time, because it was kind of at a time where we were planning for the new year, and you're starting to have the conversations about what I would be doing in that coming year, and it's like August now. I said, got to tell you something that we're thinking of doing, and I kind of told him, and there was that option where he could say, well, maybe you should just finish up right now. But he was very supportive. It was like, wow, that's amazing. You stay here as long as you want. You transition. We'll work through it together. And so that was the first major hurdle. And after we said yes and committed and signed our contracts, and kind of shared our vision with others, and the church that we went to, really that's when the support started to come in. So it's really interesting. Sometimes you gotta jump and then wait for that parachute instead of having all your gear and having everything all set in place before you go.
But it's really scary,
It was really scary, but we saw that things were going to work out, and they did. And honestly, that was when we were making that decision. That was about 9 years ago now, and not once since then have we had any problems just with finances. It's like things come in. And you can tell I have a Christian perspective. God provides, but He really has, and it's just. Some people that we never even dreamed to ask, hey, could you support us? They just sent us money or sent us a donation, wanted to support what we did. So I guess that kind of showed us that we're on the right path. But I guess my advice would be, don't wait 20 years to do it. If you feel led to do something, and if you feel that's what your life's work is, you got to do it and kind of step out on faith a little bit.
But then for young people, then the argument would be, yes, it's really something I wanted to do, but at least I haven't had my life figured out yet.
Right.
I need to support myself first before I am able to do so. Then how would you respond to that?
I would just say, if you really take stock of what you feel you're meant to do, there's always a way that will be provided for you to do it. For me, I did say that, like, originally when we worked in unpaid capacity, but there are organizations that do pay people to do that. Maybe one way to get involved would be to work for an international organization that does work, locally in the United States. So there are many organizations that you can work with as a paid position. that you'd be based in the United States, but then you have the opportunity to impact other people overseas if you feel led to do that. And sometimes once you start working for them, you get into other opportunities where you could work overseas, either in short-term or long-term capacity. So I would say, it's easy to say, follow your dreams, but, if I feel you're meant to do it, there is a path that would be made forward for you to do it.
I forgot to ask, what area are you from? The States? What state?
Right. I'm from Ohio, specifically Cincinnati.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of Cincinnati before, but I'm not really familiar with the place.
Right. Well, it's a city right on the Ohio River. It's one of the larger cities in Ohio. There's I think we're below Columbus and Cleveland. But it's a nice city to live in. There's a lot of hidden charms. We have two professional sports teams, the Cincinnati Reds and the Cincinnati Bengals, so baseball and football. Just a lot of things to do there, and just a beautiful place, kind of like a hometown community feel in a larger city.
Wow, that's cool. Now I want to kind of switch gear a little bit to Women and Gold. When you first founded, why you decided to kind of started that organization and focusing on human trafficking prevention specifically, and because you said prior to that you worked for an organization, why did you decide to leave that organization and started your own?
Right. I'd say a couple things. First of all, when we went home, we kind of went with the idea that, well, this might be the end of our time in Cambodia. But even though physically we went back to the United States, I guess our hearts and minds were still here. And so, in our minds, it's like, oh, Cambodia, was such a impactful time for us. Will we ever get back? At that time, this was pre-COVID, the organization Destiny Rescue had a lot of team trips that would come over from the United States and Australia and New Zealand, and then going home and still working for them, being a staff member, we all got a chance to lead one. And so, my turn came up in the middle of 2019, and it came back over. It was kind of like a homecoming. And it's just amazing to be back. You always question your impact, did it really go well? Did we make a difference? But I would say just the reception we got from the former staff, and just some of the beneficiaries that we still connected with. A lot of them had moved on, but we were still able to meet. It was very heartwarming. But then another interesting thing happened during that trip. It's because I was no longer the boss. I just got a lot of more honest information. Rick, a lot of these girls that we worked with, and we brought them into a rescue home or took them out of the KTV, some of them went back. Or some of them we knew were going out at night and still involved in that lifestyle because their families needed the money.
Yeah.
And that just really surprised me, because I thought, wow, one, I didn't know that, shame on me. But two, it's just that's just so unfortunate, because we did see a lot of trauma, and there's some stigma attached to that. If you worked at a place that maybe in society isn't viewed as a good place to work, maybe that has some effect on how you're viewed in the community and in the family and that. So I know there was a lot of worry about that from the young ladies that we worked with. And so I guess that's where the idea of, boy, what if we could prevent that from happening in the first place? That's kind of where that started. And then we planned to come over. Our original vision, I say ours, but it was really Jen's vision. She had the idea of creating like a community center, like a safe place for women and girls just to come, connect with each other, share experiences, maybe learn things that would help protect and prevent them. And so that was our vision to do that. But I guess we had in mind the vision of a community center, how it would work in the United States. And you know, it's a little different here. For one thing, most people are very busy working hard during the day, so they just can't come during the day to attend a training program. So then we quickly realized, oh, well, this would be something we'd have to do maybe in the late afternoons or evenings or on the weekends. So we had to adjust to that. The other thing that we really honestly hadn't decided to do, but we decided to start doing was just providing monthly support for the girls so they could go to school. And we started doing that just from input from our Cambodian team and from some of the local government officials that we work with, who heard our plan and, you know, politely told us, oh, that's good, but here's the real needs today. And so, yeah, it's good to do this program, but this family will need money each month to send their daughter to school. And so that kind of led us to kind of rethink our plan, and we started thinking, okay, well, we can provide some money to help them do that. So that's how that started. So, you know, sometimes we have a plan, but sometimes we have to adjust the plan. And it's really important to kind of listen and observe kind of what's needed on the ground instead of just what's in your head. And our staff is amazing at doing that and really helping us kind of come up with the programs that actually work.
Back to the KTV goals that you were talking about previously after you stepped out of the role as a country manager. I was just curious, when you pulled them out from the KTV, what did you do to them? And because I was just wondering, you know, if the program was effective, then they wouldn't be able to go back, right? But I was just wondering what made the program not effective.
Right. I guess I would say probably for most of the girls it was effective, but you know, the first part of pulling them out of the KTVs was just finding like a safe space for them to be. And so at that time, many organizations had a rescue home. So, and many still do to this day. You need a safe place, especially if it's not safe for them to be in their village. But for other girls, it is safe for them to be in the village, you know, back with their families. And so that's you know, the preferable way. You know, you don't want to separate people from their families. But I would say the first thing we do would just deal to their material and physical needs, like a health checkup. Are you okay physically? Also then just like, how are you doing mentally? How are you feeling? I mean, we could see firsthand just some of the girls were just very traumatized and not trusting and really didn't know what to expect. You know, you also have to do it very out in the open. Like you just don't take someone out. You know, you have to present this as, hey, here's what we want to do. You talk to the girl's family. You talk to the local officials. You make sure that everyone knows what you're doing and why. And you know, over the years and decades, that organization had all that established, so they know how to do all that and had all the procedures in place. So, because you could quickly realize or maybe deduce that, boy, if you didn't do that, like, what's this group of people from another country doing with my daughter? You know, so you really have to have those protocols in place and actually follow the rules of the government. They have very clear guidelines for residential care facilities and reporting and requirements and all that. But then basically it was like we would come up with a care plan for the girl and her family. What do you want to do? And many of the girls at that point said, well, they would like to learn some vocational training. Some wanted to continue in school, but I'd say the majority were interested in learning like a skill. And like a lot of times it would be learning how to do hair and makeup, or working in a cafe, becoming a barista, or maybe learning sewing so they could get a job in one of the garment factories. So that's kind of how they would kind of work with those beneficiaries. You know, over time, I think kind of the shift focus from doing more in community than doing more at the residential care, and also, you know, trying to be more efficient. Maybe the length of time they would stay within our care would shorten as they got more effective with programs and outcomes. But, so I hope that answered the question and kind of like explain how they would kind of work with the girls once they came out of the KTs.
Yeah, for sure. Also now with Women of Gold, it was found how many years ago?
Yeah, we were officially founded in 2020, but we began operations in Cambodia in 2021.
Okay, so it started in 2021, so it's been like 4 years.
Yeah, about 3.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you have 40 girls right now.
Yeah.
And my question would be, I was just wondering, how did you find the girl? And what criteria are you looking for in order for them to be qualified into the program? And what kind of programs do you have for them?
Right. Thanks for the question. So we work with a lot of community partners to help us identify girls whose families are struggling and would need financial assistance for her to continue school. So some of these partners include local schools, some local churches in the community, commune leaders, village chiefs, local government officials have been very helpful and we work in close partnership with them. So we're grateful for everyone's partnership. But a lot of times we get our referrals through them. And the schools, the churches, and the village chiefs know the people in their community and can really see who are struggling and who might need help. And so once they say, hey, you should maybe talk to this family, we'll go and we'll meet with them maybe a couple times and just kind of learn about their background, learn the challenges that they're facing. And then once we accept the girl into our program, we start providing her with just monthly support to go to school. And the support is used for the extra classes. It's used for like meals at school, gas to and from school, or the parking at school, whatever is education related. Also supplies and materials. But then we also work with the girls and their families just to provide like a wide variety of training programs. So we believe in a holistic approach. It's not just enough to work with the girls, but we also want to see the family succeed. If the family can succeed, it takes a lot of the worry and the pressure off of their daughters as well. So, some of the training programs we provide are like a managing your personal finances training program, where it just helps people create a budget, like here's what I earn each month, here's what I spend. Also really helps them get a handle on their loans, like how many loans do I have, and then maybe develop a plan to kind of pay off those loans so they can reduce their debt burdens. 'Cause, many families, in Cambodia and in our own country have a lot of debt. So that debt can be crushing, and that also can lead you to make decisions to take employment that's not safe for the family members, or even, encourage, hey, we're not making it, you need to stop going to school and help support the family. And so we try to help the family with training programs that are practical and real world, not just idealized things, but like getting rid of the debt. Or when you do have to travel for work, here's how to do it safely. Here's how to avoid scam job offers and not be tricked, And then for the girls, we just have a lot of programs just to empower and encourage them. One of our programs is a book study with a wonderful book called Diving Deep, Going Far, which just encourages the girls to kind of envision their future and succeed. Our team here also does a lot of training programs. One's called Empower, one's called Shine. We even have a program called Good Touch, Bad Touch that teaches about safe physical boundaries and, abuse prevention. And also, I think one of the ones that has been most of interest and most effective is a internet safety program called May and Bay. And this is a program that we didn't develop. It was developed by EP02 and another partner. And it's basically an online game that lets kids navigate and make choices in an age-appropriate way, and just helps them understand what's safe and what's not safe for being online. I can stand up and lecture them, now don't go online,
Right,
like, okay,
right.
sure, But if they get to make choices and navigate and realize, oh, that wasn't safe, that's probably more effective and helps them remember it and contextualize it a little more. So, partnerships at the core of what we do. We always say we can't do it alone. We really rely on our local partners, partnerships with other NGOs, and just our staff to really try to make a difference in the community.
Wow, this is great. What are the ages of the girls?
The girls are teenagers. They're between 13 and 17 years old for the most part.
And for all of them, how long do they have to be in the program? And when do they have to graduate from the program?
Our hope and dream is that they all get to graduate high school. And, that could take a long time for some who are just in 7th or 8th grade, obviously, than someone who comes in 10th or 11th grade. The ideal would also be, or the ideal, is that, we would help the parents become more financially secure through our loan reduction programs. But if that's not possible in the short term, we'll continue to work with the girls and guide them through school.
Okay.
So, honestly, we are newish at this, so we've been doing it for like 3 years now. And most of the girls we started working with are still in our program because they're, they were in 8th grade or 9th grade when they started. Some have graduated. Some have said, well, we don't need support anymore. And just being honest, some don't always stay in school. I think as an NGO, it's important to say, we don't succeed 100% of the time. We always want to share our success stories, but in the real world, it doesn't always go perfectly.
Exactly.
So we've had a handful of girls who them and their families agree, no, we don't want to go to school anymore. And, we try to encourage them, but it's their decision in the end. And in the end, you respect the family's wishes. So, we just have run some stats recently, and 91% of the girls we've been working with over the 3 years are still in school. And we're also seeing their confidence grow and their academic performance improve. 36% of them are now ranked 1 through 10 in their class, so they're in the top part of their class.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and it's exciting to see that. And we just want to encourage them and strengthen their confidence in themselves because we know they can do it. One of the other programs we have is like a community art program. And the things they come up with, they're just so creative. Their minds are so sharp. And I just think, wow, if you can do that, I couldn't create that. I'm not an artist, but they just do it quickly. And so I always think the girls just have so much promise in them. And our goal is just to help them uncover that thing that they're called to do. You just never know what girl in the village is going to be the next great business leader, or maybe the next great doctor, or the next scientist, or maybe write the next great Cambodian novel. You just have to give people a shot and a chance, and that's just what we hope to do, just help them uncover their purpose and step into their future.
So I guess the way you measure your success in your programs, it sounded like one, when they do well in school, and two, when they're very participative in all the programs, to be able to join in, share ideas, things like that, right? And anything else that you do to really measure the success of your programs?
Yeah, I would say that, as we go forward, our goal would be to try to see how many of the young ladies we could get to graduate high school. That's still not one we can measure effectively yet. But like in the future, we hope to see, all of them, or as many as possible, graduate. And then maybe even take steps to get into university. I just think opening the doors to those opportunities just really allows, for success in the future. As you know, Cambodia is growing. It's moving to the upper middle income country. There's going to be a lot of opportunities in this new economy. And so we just want to have the girls ready for that. To succeed in that and make a difference in their families.
Do you have any programs that are preparing them for college if they want to go to college?
Not specifically a college preparatory program, but I know you have some experience with that, and so like at some point, maybe our two teams can work together to do that. But I think what we're just trying to teach them now is resiliency. Empower them to realize that they can do it. We try to take surveys or feedback from the girls, not after every program, but we just went through a round of surveys just late last year. And I guess one of the overall themes that we've got is like, you've helped me believe in myself. Like I didn't know that maybe I could do these things, but I can do it. One other program that I didn't mention yet, it's a running program. We train the girls to do the International Women's Day 10K race in Phnom Penh every March. We've done it 2 years.
Oh, that's cool.
And that's not an example of academic success or obviously like getting
really
a good
important
job
too, to take care of yourself.
Future, but just everyone who says, I want to do it, they start and they realize this is hard. I said, it's hot outside, you're running 5K, 6K, 7K, 8K, it's really hard. And they probably think, why am I doing this? I can't do it. But then on race day it comes and we go down to Phnom Penh and they all finish it and they all do it and they're just amazed that they could do it. I mean, that's just an example of like a confidence building opportunity where I didn't think I could do something, but now I can. What else could maybe I do that I never thought that I could do before? And our team consists of trained social workers and counselors, so they're always encouraging the girls on how to do that.
Yeah, I think it's great, running is also good too. I like running.
Yeah.
I recently just signed up for a half marathon.
Oh, is that the one in Scenicville?
No, the one in Phnom Penh.
Oh, in June?
Yeah, in June.
Oh, wow, okay.
The one in June 15th.
Yeah.
So I've been training for it.
Yeah.
I
can do it.
I haven't been able to do it very well, in the last week or so, but I think that's okay,
Yeah.
Half marathon, I think I can do it.
Yeah.
That's great, because I think that yeah, besides academically, but also physically, it's really important to really teach them that way.
Right.
Like you said, if they can run a 10K is really a big deal for a lot of people here,
Right.
it's like really one of the accomplishments. And like you said, it's really train them to think that, if I can do this,
Right.
this is challenging physically, but if I can do it, then probably there's more things that I have the
Right.
capacity to do it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is a great program. Also, how many staff do you have?
We have 5 staff members. 3 are social workers that work directly with our girls. One's our accountant and kind of our office manager. And then we have a staff member who's kind of the in charge of the social work operations, but is also in charge of our community partnerships. And he, gets us positioned in the community, sets up, relationships and partnerships. And he's also the one now primarily working with the families, just to help them through, debt burdens and come up with solutions to help them maybe get those down a little bit.
Wow. Now moving to the financial side, I am always curious to see how nonprofits, especially the smaller ones, are able to fundraise. How do you collect your donation, and what kind of campaigns do you do, or what kind of means do you really go out and raise the money?
Right. Yeah, that's always the trick to raise funds. We use what I like to think of it as a alignment strategy.
Okay.
So instead of just trying to tell everyone everywhere about what we do and just hoping that something will fall because of that, kind of like the big blanket approach, we try to partner with individuals, businesses, churches, and foundations that really have the same focus areas as we do. Because when there's that mutual alignment, then there's the potential for a partnership to develop. So, areas that we focus on are education, human trafficking prevention, keeping women and girls safe, physically healthy, programs like that. And so we get support from churches back home. We get support from some businesses and some private donors. I belong to some business groups in the city of Cincinnati and make relationships through them. And through those relationships, you find people who are like, oh, I'm interested in what you do, tell me more, and kind of support us that way.
Okay.
Recently, we've started applying for grants. So we've been very busy this first half of the year doing a lot of grant writing. Now that we have a successful track record, I think we have a good story to tell. So, we're still waiting on the outcome of most of those, but, so far so good. We'll see how that goes. We've been able to acquire the necessary funding for the last 3 or 4 years. Things are looking positive. But we're always thinking for the future, not just next year, but 5 years, 10 years. So, if anyone has a $2 million endowment, that would be great.
Yeah.
That would be great for the
yeah,
so
totally.
If anyone out there hears this, we'd be willing to talk.
That's cool. Because before you mentioned to me that you kind of divided your time half and half between here and the States.
Yeah.
So while you're in the States, so I guess is how long are you in Cambodia, and then how long are you in the States, and what are you doing while you're in the States? You're just like busy going around and raise the money?
Yeah. I'd say we're here about 7 to 8 months out of the year, and then the rest of the time we are back home. It looks different from year to year. Last year in 2024, we're actually back and forth a lot. That's never advisable because it's such a long flight, and it's expensive.
How long is the flight from Ohio?
for us, it's like 27 hours.
Oh, about the same.
Yeah. That involves 2 stops and
Yeah.
layovers and
That's a
everything.
long flight.
But you know, you get used to it after a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, when we're here, we're involved in doing the work, working alongside our team. Our team takes the lead on all of the community work just because language and culture, and they're just so good at it. You know, we participate, but then our role here is to kind of help with strategy and new programs and just kind of, you know, always refining the structure and operations so that we operate effectively and, you know, just achieve results and provide the best possible outcomes for the girls and their families. So it's always good to be here to kind of see how things are going, you know, firsthand, and then to help speak into that. But yeah, you're right. When we're home, we're looking for potential funding partners. You know, most churches or businesses operate, of course, on the calendar fiscal year. So, you know, being home in late summer, early fall is always good to be there for that time to help, you know, participate in that if possible, and make sure, you know, okay, here's what we would request for this year, and see if it makes various budgets. So we're trying to figure out where if we could be here only during the coolest times, that would be great, like December, January, February.
Yeah.
You know, it's very hot in April, but
Very hot.
you know, we can survive the heat. It's okay.
Has it been a challenge at all for you to really fundraise?
I would say so far so good.
Okay.
The challenge, and we're not the only one that faces this, but it's just to get people's attention. So honestly, there's been many times where we'll meet with someone and come away with just, oh, I love what you do. I definitely want to support you. But then, like, time will pass and maybe that doesn't happen. And there's just there's so much. I think there's a lot of ability to give in our country, and we just see the needs here. I guess my encouragement would be it doesn't take a lot. You know, the amount that we give the girls in school each month, it's just $30. $30 can make a huge difference in a person's life. You know, like in the United States now, that's not even half of a dinner.
Right.
You know,
right.
so you know, if you could find $30 a month to keep a girl in school,
why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah, I think that would be a good use of money, especially when we see the girls and how they're doing well, thriving every day. So, you know, it's been going well. We're very blessed by that. But you know, like I said before, we're always just looking years out. Our goal, we work in Kampong Cham, but we also do some work in the next province over, Tabong Kamong.
Okay.
So our goal would be to have a community center, maybe in Song City and Tabong Kamong as well. And so that would be the next step up. But you know, we don't want to take that step unless we know that there's going to be consistent funding, because there's nothing more discouraging to the people that we work with and staff members if you start something and then have to stop it. So we've seen things like that happen in the NGO community. You know, a lot of times it's unforeseeable, where you think you have funding lined up, you have a program, you go forward, and then like a year later you have to cut it back. So we're just very mindful of growing smartly, taking the right steps, and so far so good, but we realize there's just many more people to help and want to help as many as we can. sometimes some of the government officials ask us, why don't you work all throughout Cambodia? It's like, well, we'd love to, but one step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time.
And if we can someday, we'd love to, but we're gonna try to do well in the communities where we work first.
Yeah. I forgot to ask, like Cambodia, and why did you decide Kampong Cham, not somewhere else like Siem Reap or Battambang or other provinces? Why you chose Kampong Cham specifically?
Yeah, we love those other provinces that you mentioned, but I think for us, just with our lifestyle and just like how we like to live, Kampong Cham just seemed like a good place. I think back when we worked for the Destiny Rescue Organization, it was kind of like a central kind of sort of location for us because we had to do a lot in Phnom Penh, but also a lot in Siem Reap. And so it's kind of like a triangle then we could do. So logistically, it kind of made sense, but also just like living here and just kind of it's more of a relaxed atmosphere. It's very beautiful. Like just 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you're out in the countryside and you just see, the beautiful rice fields. You see the houses, the sky. It's just it's like a picture, And we do like to take motor rides out in the countryside and just kind of see and experience the villages. So, I think Kampong Cham's affordable place to live, and like you had mentioned earlier, it's got more developed. So there's the pizza company and the Dairy Queen. Whenever we just need something Western,
I haven't tried Dairy Queen yet, but I was shocked.
You gotta try it.
I was shocked to see. I was just like, I think when I first came here, I was running along the riverside, and I saw Dairy Queen. I'm like, whoa, they have Dairy Queen here? That was crazy.
And honestly, too, in terms of our work, we've realized that there are many NGOs in Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, and Battambang. But there's some here, but not as many. And in Tabong Kamam, there's even fewer. So we feel this is an area that maybe is a little underserved in terms of NGO participation. So I think it just makes sense for us to try to work here.
Okay, you said you are here 7 or 8 months. Which is, even more than half. How do you get around? Like, do you speak the language very much?
I always struggle with the language. I wouldn't say it's a gift of mine. In school I studied Spanish. I actually went to a school where we had to learn Latin. And so
at your time, huh?
I was always better at writing it than speaking it. But no excuses. But I think like for us, when we got involved in the first organization, the focus was you got to do the job and then you learn language on your own. That's different than some mission organizations who, your first year or two is just language and culture. So you set up with that base and you're better positioned in the long run. But, we came over with goals to meet and deadlines to pursue. So it was probably like 5 or 6 months in before we even started language training, which is kind of backwards. We go through phases where we take lessons, but then we kind of drop out. We learned the characters recently, so we learned how to read and write Khmer, which is good, but I still need to learn the words because I can recognize the sounds, but I don't know what the word is, so it's not as effective. That's something I really do want to do better on and improve. But our staff makes it easy to cheat because they all speak good English, and they're happy to practice their English, and we're a little shy with our Khmer, so we don't do it as often as we should. Each year, that's my New Year's resolution. Each year we do a little better, but each year it's kind of like, well, I'm still not great at it. So I'd love to get better is my answer to that. But in terms of getting around, we have with our organization, we have like a vehicle. So I have a Cambodia driver's license. I'm always driving around. We have a moto, we have a bicycle. So we just, and pass app and tuk-tuks. So it's really easy to get around. Yeah.
What was your impression when you first stepped to Cambodia, like many years ago, when you first came to volunteer? Because, once again, probably back then it hasn't been developing much, compared to now. I mean, what was your overall impression of Cambodia when you first came here?
Yeah, I loved it right out of the gate. I guess in my mind, my first international experience was in Sierra Leone, West Africa. And these are the days before the internet. Back then in the village where we lived, we had no electricity. The running water ran out when the dry season came. So you just really learn to live in a basic level. I guess in my mind, I've always had that experience, that kind of maybe less developed, ready for anything kind of situation. When we came over on the team trip, the first time, we went to Thailand first and then Cambodia. Thailand was always like a bucket list kind of place for me. And when I went over there, I thought, I just loved it in Thailand. When it was time to leave, I was kind of sad to leave because I thought, I don't know about Cambodia. But we got to Cambodia, and as soon as we landed in the airport, there were drivers in a tuk-tuk that picked us up and just kind of whisked us into the traffic, and it was rush hour. I was like, this is awesome. You know what it's like. You're kind of zigging around traffic.
Yeah, are you
I just had a flashback of like Sierra Leone, where it's kind of like, it's like, it's not quite as slickly developed as like, Singapore or South Korea, or it's just like, this feels like home to me, And I guess I just kind of fell in love with it from the first place. And I do have to say, like, honestly, just my sole opinion, there's many things here, believe it or not, that are easier than in the United States.
Like what?
Like getting internet access, for example.
Okay.
Like every cafe, every shop you go to.
Yeah.
And that just blew me away at the time. And also just like we have it at our office, we have it in our home. But I remember the first time we called up someone, we had the assistance of a local staff member, and I explained what I wanted, and like 10 minutes later he calls me back and says, okay, they're outside your door. I said, what? It's like, yeah, they're here now, they're ready to install it. It's like, back home it would take me 2 weeks to get on the schedule. There's a window of time, they can come to your house, between like 8 and 10 or 10 and 2 or whatever, and you're just like, okay. Same thing with some, like banking apps, like,
easier,
ABA,
like the QR code and stuff, right?
I don't know why I lifted your phone up, but, it's like, just so easy, like a universal payment system. Like you can even buy noodles on the street just scanning the ABA code. Like in our country, you got credit cards, or you got to figure out the readers. And
I guess they have Venmo now. It's kind of similar.
Yeah.
I guess, in a way, but not like every place you go to, like, hey, can I Venmo? Not really. They take cards and stuff.
Yeah, or even if you just want to like get around on a ride, especially in Phnom Penh, we just use Pass app. You can get an Uber back home, but you gotta schedule it. It might take half hour, an hour. Like, if the Pass app takes more than a minute, it's taken so long. It's just a lot of very convenient things.
What are the differences? Besides all the things that you already mentioned, but what else have you found different here and back home, for the goods and for the bads?
There's just so many cultural differences. Honestly, probably there's a portion of every day that we just discuss all that as a team. Because I'm just like, Jen and I are just really interested in like, well, here you do it this way, back home you do it that way. And we all come from such different backgrounds and different cultural expectations. Each season we're in Cambodia, we learn more and more. And the things we learn now, like I never even thought about 5 years ago or 7 years ago. It's just interesting, like, the weddings or the funerals that you see right on the street. Like we just don't have that back home. Or just, like the traffic, like that's a big adjustment for me. Here I drive more Cambodian style, but back home, you can't do that. Honestly, there's a lot. I'll just say there's a lot of unsafe driving practices that we witness here, and so it causes me to really slow down. But I have to learn to speed back up in the U.S. and like for the first several weeks when I'm home, I know I'm just irritating people because I'm driving like slow on the highway and they're raging behind me. The cost of living is more affordable here. That's the first month back home. It's always like, in Cambodia it costs this much. Like, okay, well, you're not in Cambodia anymore. But we're just there's just some things both positive and negative about both countries, and we're just really almost there's things that surprise us every day, but that's part of the fun. It's part of the excitement and the challenge. Just we become real students of Cambodia and just really want to know everything we can. There's like nothing else that has really captured my attention in life, I would say honestly, than just trying to understand and do our best to help Cambodian people understand Cambodian culture, understand its history, understand like direction in the future. It's like that's all we kind of think about, talk about, and really put our energy in.
Like that you have lived in Cambodia for quite some time now, and I'm just curious to know what are some things that you like about Cambodia, just in general, like food or I don't know, just anything about Cambodia.
That's easy. I mean, the first thing is just the people. They're just so welcoming. They're so curious about us. When we walk or run around Kampong Cham, I'd say every day we're showered by just hello, or people want to talk to us. Sometimes you do just want to blend in, and you don't want to be the center of attention everywhere you go. That's one nice thing about being back home. Back home, I walk into a store and no one cares that I'm there. But it's just out of desire to be welcoming and to be interested, and I love that aspect of it. I think the Cambodian people make it real easy to live and work here. But I guess I just also love like the slower pace of things a little bit. Like, we work hard. We're here at our office every day from 8 to 5. Our team works very hard, but like it's still not the pressures of the corporate jobs I had back home. I always had to produce at a high level, and even on vacation or on the weekends, you gotta stay in tune with things. It's just a very interesting place, and there's lots of just beautiful things to see and do. This is actually the first time, believe it or not, we actually participated in Khmer New Year. In all the years we've been there, because either we would have a break and we would travel to another country, or we were back home. But this year we decided just to stay here. It was just wonderful. It was just an absolute ball. I think you saw pictures of us just randomly in the paper. We just happened to be walking when the governor and his team were coming, and they had us pose and take a few pictures. And And so if anyone's wondering how that, it was just pure chance.
Okay.
But you know, it was just fun to like get doused with the water, the powder. And they were just so polite, like, "Sir, can I put powder on your face?" "Yes, sure, you can." But then others were just, when they saw we were game for it, they were just more bold. Just would douse us with buckets of water. So we just really enjoyed it. And you know, we actually went up to Mondo Curry for the first time.
Oh, I love that place.
And that was during Water Festival.
One of my favorite places.
And that was just delightful. We got to see like some of the Banong people, like where they lived, and visited one of their communities, and it was just so fascinating. And I guess, you know, that's the other part that we like, just always the opportunity to learn and grow and expand our experiences and understanding. And Cambodia is a great place to do it, because it's such an ancient culture, a lot older than the United States, and it's just a lot to learn and discover.
Yeah, I love that place. Have you seen the pine trees?
Yes, yeah.
Pretty interesting, right?
Yeah.
I think I went there last year, and then I asked some people that who planted all those pine trees, and they said, the Chinese people came and planted the pine trees for. They were trying to collect. I don't know what they were trying to collect. I forgot, but I'm like, very interesting. I was shocked when I first saw pine trees in Cambodia.
Yes. So a lot of those probably back home, right?
Yeah.
I was a little surprised too.
Yeah, but it's really green, you know, during the rainy season, like super green. Luscious green, and it's just a lot cooler over there, I guess, with the trees and stuff.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, very, very beautiful. Very different. I mean, I love it over there. I don't want to keep you too long, but probably a few more questions.
Sure.
One is that, what is your vision for the future for your organization?
Our vision would just be to, as I mentioned, try to grow our organization by moving into the next province as well, and just helping as many girls as we can to get through high school, hopefully get into college, and then just kind of step into their purpose. You know, we exist as an organization just to help the girls do that, and it's just so exciting to see them like thrive and kind of enjoying themselves, but also looking to their future. So you know, we'll do this as long as we can. You know, obviously we're all getting older. Our goal would just be to do this until, like, I guess, health-wise, we can't do it anymore. But, you know, by that time, you know, we'll probably have grown our leadership here so that we don't need to come over as much. But we're not there yet.
Wow. Also, I guess, what would be your advice or words to any people out there, just in general, for what you're doing, or if you want them to get involved, or it's just in general, any words of advice?
I guess I would say, like, I feel like we all have a purpose to our lives, and there's some things that can get involved that help prevent us from stepping into that purpose. You know, some of it is just challenges or situations or traumatic things that have happened, but sometimes it's fear. And I guess for me, even though I had the desire to do this type of work for many years, I just was never ready to step into it because I didn't want to leave comfort, or I didn't know how I'd provide for my family, or I didn't, you know what the future would hold. But you know, like I said before, like, if there's calling to your life, you know, we only have so much time, so the sooner you can discover your purpose and act onto it, the better, I think, for you and for the world. And so that's why we do what we do with the young ladies that we work with because they all have many gifts, and we just want to maybe help them uncover what those gifts are. You know, I don't know what they might be. It's not what I say or what our staff says, but it's giving them the confidence to realize, oh, I can do this or I can do that, and then just kind of moving into that. Because if you can do what you are called to do, that's how you make a major impact for the good of the world. I would say for people who want to get involved, a little bit helps. You know, as we were discussing before, if you can give just a little bit of money makes a huge difference to the families we work with. Not just $30 a month, but sometimes we run into families who moto is broken and they can't get it repaired because they can't spare the $10. Well, $10 would help someone get back to work and earn a livelihood for their families. I think sometimes when we tell people what we do back home, they think, oh, well, I could never do that. I could never live in Cambodia. I can't give you thousands of dollars or $10,000s of dollars. Like, you don't have to. You know, we can all just participate in our own way. You can share information about our organization. You can give. You can come up with ideas. You can come and visit. You know, because once you see the work, then it kind of, you really see it. You know, so I think that would be my advice, to just participate as you can and don't let fear get in the way.
What does impact look like to you? Because I know you're doing this kind of work because we talk so much about impacts, but personally and generally for you, what does impact look like to you?
I guess impact for us would be in the short term, just getting the girls through high school and maybe college, and then really having them make a positive impact and contribution to not only their families, but maybe their villages and then Cambodia as a whole. So as the country moves ahead into the future, there's just a lot of opportunities. And you've probably seen, like in the bigger cities, there's more opportunities at this point than some of the villages and the smaller towns. But, you know, we need to lift everyone there. And it's not just for people who have money or who were lucky enough to meet this NGO just on this particular day and now their life is impacted. But the more people we can help, and the more community members we can share information to, I think the more positioned people will be to just help Cambodia kind of achieve the next phase in its growth and its ability for everyone to just do well in their lives.
Okay, would be, I guess, the last question, or any comments that you want to have, especially about Cambodia in general, or anything that you want to kind of wrap up before we finish this?
Yeah, I guess I would just thank you for the opportunity to share. It's always great to talk about something that you love. I appreciate the extended time. Sometimes we'll go back home and we're asked to share, but it's like, you got 10 minutes. So you try to put everything you can into about 10 minutes. I guess I just would want to say, like, there's just a lot of work to be done, a lot of people we can help, and just encourage everyone to get involved in the way that their heart leads them. If it's with us in prevention, that's great. But if it's with something else, that's okay too. You know, it's just participating in making the world a better place. You know, I think that's what we're called to do, and just kind of sharing tools and like what we've learned just to help others succeed, so that they in turn can do the same for others. So we can all do better by working together, just to make a better future for everyone.
Wow. What a good advice, you know, I appreciate that. And I guess finally I just admire what you're doing, you know, because it takes a lot of courage to do it, not everybody who have the desire to do it really have the courage to actually leave some of the things behind and really step into this world and doing all these kind of things. So I would say that it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of sacrifice. And as someone who have lived in the States for quite some time, I see what it's like to live in that world, and you come here and you see there are a lot of needs that you need to step in and sometimes to help. And kind of like Rick said, not everybody have the time to really do what he's doing, but at least if you have the resources, by all means, anything that you can share would be a help too. I really appreciate all the work that you do to help the girls in Cambodia, and I'm sure that you have done so many good things. You have changed their lives to the better. Probably sometimes I'm sure that there are days that you feel like, I'm not really sure, if what I'm doing really, help someone or not. But I can assure you that it does help someone, like either by small or bigger means, you don't know, but even in the smaller means, but it does make a difference to them.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So I appreciate your time, your time to come and to share with people, and I hope that people can learn from this. And because I completely have learned a lot of things from him, and really touching to hear what he's doing, and and appreciate all the things that you do, and also hopefully that everybody who watched this will be able to learn it somehow from him and find it really inspiring, that you can go out and do something to help other people around you, either here in Cambodia or wherever you go, in the community that you live in. Probably try to find some ways to really make a difference in someone's life, because you never know, what they need. Like Rick said, $10 can really help someone to get back to work, and probably $10 to you, it's not a lot, but $10 to that person, it's huge to them. So you never know. So I guess just be nice, be kind to people around you, and have empathy and more love to people around you. And thank you again, Rick.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.